Hello and welcome to GED Microlearning. This is a channel specialized on GED math test questions. In this week, we're going to cover 15 questions, and I've switched things up a little bit thanks to the feedback that I got from some of you last week, so thanks very much. So we're going to include the 5 different types of questions that you can see in the GED math test. So today we'll work with drop-down questions, hotspot, fill in the blank, drag and drop, and then we'll also do our usual 10 multiple choice type questions. So let me know in the comments below what you think. If this is helpful, I can throw in some of these questions in future. If it's not, we'll just stick to multiple choice as we usually do. All right, so let's get started. So this first type of question that you're seeing is what we call a drag and drop a drop-down menu question. And what you'll see is that they'll give you usually a graph of some sort or a table with a question, and then you see that you don't really have an option in terms of seeing the answers. So if you hit this drop-down menu right there, it brings down the possible answers that you have. All right, so before we get started with the question, let's quickly remind ourselves how to read a graph. So as always, you want to start at the top with the title. So this graph is telling you that it represents monthly pay. Then you're going to go down to the y-axis, which is telling you how many people are on the payroll by the thousands. And you can see that the maximum number is 70,000. And then finally, you want to look at the x-axis. And in this case, what it's telling you is the months. Okay, so it's telling you how many people were on the payroll in April, May, June, all the way up to January. All right, and then you can dive into the problem. And the question asks you which month did the company have the least amount of people on the payroll? So if you look at the lowest point of the graph, you can see it's there in August. All right, so August, there it is. You follow it to the y-axis. It's about maybe 18,000 people on the payroll. This is the lowest point. If you look at June, follow it to the top. That's 70,000. That's the highest point. Okay, so then you would go down to your drop-down menu, as we said, and then you would select August as your correct answer. All right, that's all there is to this question. A gardener rented a lawnmower at 8 a.m. and returned it at 3 p.m. He paid a total of $32.06. What was the rental cost per hour? Okay, so there's several ways that you can do this problem. Three methods actually. So the first one is probably the most legit and the one that they want you to use, which is to set up kind of like an algebra type equation for yourself. So if you want to find out the total cost of the rental cost per hour, we would set up an equation like this where we say what was the total cost? The total cost is equal to the number of units, and by number of units we mean number of hours in this case, multiplied by the price per hour. Okay, so from the question, the number of units is 7 hours, right? Because from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., that's 7 hours. And so we have that value. And we also have the total cost, which was $32.06. So all you have to do is plug these numbers into your equation like that and solve for the price. Okay, so you do that, divide both sides by 7. That gives you that the price per hour was $4.58. Method 2, if you feel comfortable, I usually just directly divide the total cost by the hour and the amount of hours, and that would give you the price per hour. And then the third method, and this is like if you find yourself in a situation where you have absolutely no idea, is just to use what they give you. Okay, so use the answer options that they give you to try to figure it out. Okay, so they're telling us that option 1 is $3.20, right? So if we multiply that by 7 hours, which is how long he had the lawnmower, that gives us $22.04, which you can see is incorrect, okay? So that option is incorrect. If we do it for option B, you see we get $28.84. That's also incorrect. And then there you go. If you do answer option C, you get the correct answer, which was $32.06, which is here in the question. And just out of completeness, if we do D, it's more than that, $38. Okay, so this is also another option that you have if, for example, you find yourself in that situation where you're like, I have absolutely no clue how to solve this. Okay, but you can see that in all cases, the answer is going to be C, $4.58. Okay, so this is another type of question that you can see in the GED, which is the fill in the blank option. And these questions are kind of tricky, I have to say, in the sense that, you know, it's kind of like sink or swim. You don't really have, it's a little bit harder to guess. You know, if you had a multiple choice question, you could take a swing at it and maybe you get lucky, but these type of questions, it's a little bit harder. So it's important to practice them. Okay, so here it says, type your answer in the box. You may include numbers, symbols, or text, and it's asking you to simplify the expression below completely and leave your answer in radical form. So first of all, what is radical form? So radical form is the simplest form, meaning that you can't simplify it further. All right, and it's telling you the square root of 36 multiplied by the square root of 7. So let's go ahead and remind ourselves a little bit about square roots. So when you get a square root, what you have to ask yourself is what number multiplied by itself is going to give me this number, right? So in this case, what number multiplied by itself would give you 25? It would be 5, right? Because 5 times 5 is 25. So the square root, and it looks like I didn't put it there, but the square root of 25 would be 5. Okay, what about 4? What number multiplied by itself is 4? 2, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4, so the square root of 4 is 2. What about 9? 3, right? 3 times 3 is 9, and 100, 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, and there it is. Okay, I put it in the wrong order. All right, so let's go back to our question. So here it's asking us, as we said, to simplify the expression. Let's start with 36. So what would be the number that multiplied by itself gives you 36? It would be 6, right? So 6 times 6 is 36. Therefore, the square root of 36 is 6. And let's look at the square root of 7. Is there any number multiplied by itself that gives you 7? No, there's not. Okay, so this expression is already in radical form. Okay, has been simplified as far as you can go. So when you go and type your answer in the box, it would look like that. Okay, 6, which is the square root of 36, which we simplified, multiplied by the square root of 7. Okay, so a little geometry problem here. So this is one of those figures that looks super intimidating to look at and super complicated, but this problem is actually very simple if you know a few facts. So it gives you these two parallel lines that are being cut by this vertical line at the same angle. And it asks you, if angle A is 20 degrees, what is the angle for B? Okay, this one. All right, so this is what you have to remember. When you have this scenario, these two parallel lines are going to be exactly the same, meaning that this 20-degree angle here is going to be the same as this 20-degree angle here. Okay, they're exactly the same. And the angle across from this angle, so this one, and the angle across from here, this one, are also going to be the same. So they're also going to be 20 degrees and 20 degrees. Okay, so what happens to that angle? Well, it's also going to be the same as that angle across, and it's also going to be the same as those angles down below. All right, and at this point it's important, let's do a little bit of a recap about angles in a straight line. So this is something that you have to commit to memory because it will save you a few headaches. Just remember that when you have a straight line, all the angles in that straight line have to add up to 180. Okay, so if they give you this figure here that looks super fancy and scary, not a problem. You know that angle A plus angle B plus angle C has to equal 180. Okay, and then it's going to be really easy for you to solve these problems. So if we go back to our question, right, we have to find what is angle B. We already know that angle C is 20 degrees, and we already have the value for the line, so all you have to do is solve for B. Okay, so you would say B plus 20, and then solve for B by subtracting 20 from each side. That gives you 160. Okay, so that's all there is to this question. And that is answer C. "25 out of every 100 people surveyed said they exercise 7 times per week. What fraction of people surveyed exercise every day of the week?" All right, so here all you have to do is you have to set up your equation like that. So first of all, at the bottom we have the total number of people that was surveyed, which was 100, and then we specifically want to know how many of those 100 people actually exercise 7 days per week, which they've told us is 25. Okay, so your fraction would be 25 out of 100 people. And then all you have to do is reduce this fraction, simplify it to 1/4. Answer B. All right, so each month Luke spends 1/6 of his take-home pay on loans and 1/3 on food. What fraction of his take-home pay is left after paying for these items? All right, so this question has 2 steps. The first thing that you have to do is actually figure out how much he's spending on the loans. Sorry, this should say loans, not utilities. Okay, so how much he's spending on the loans plus the food. So you would add these 2 fractions. Problem, notice that these 2 fractions are different. Okay, so you can't add them across just yet. So just a quick recap on fractions. So remember that fractions consist of 2 numbers, a top number called the numerator and a bottom number called a denominator. And when you add or subtract fractions, the rule is that the denominator in those 2 fractions has to be the same for you to be able to either add or subtract. Okay, so in this case we have 1/6 over 1/3. So we have to make sure that both denominators, as we said, the number at the bottom is the same. So how do we get this number to be the same as this one? So what we would do is multiply this fraction by 2 over 2. Okay, that gives us 2/6. And now we can go ahead and add our fraction. And remember that once you have these common denominators, you don't have to change any of that. All you have to do is add these 2 numbers in the top. All right, so we would end up with 3/6, which is equal to 1/2. So that is the amount of his take-home pay that he's putting into paying his loans plus food. And then the question asks us what fraction of his take-home pay is left after paying for these things. So here is where you would subtract the cost of loans and food, which we just found out, which was 1/2 from his total pay, and that would give you 1/2. Okay, so he has half of his pay left. Jane buys a $750 phone at a 20% discount. After paying, she notices a small defect, and the seller gives her another 7% discount on her final bill. How much did she pay for the phone after both discounts? Okay, so just a word of warning. Sometimes students look at this problem and they say, oh, okay, that's easy, right? I've got 20% here, I've got 7% here, so it's a 27% discount on this amount of money. It's not, guys. This is something that you have to be really careful. It's two separate discounts, okay? So the first thing that you have to find out is the discount on this amount, okay? The 20% discount on that $750. Once you get that bill for that first discount, you have to find out the second discount, right? The 7% on that, on her final bill, so to speak. Okay, so remember, it's a two-step process, not a one-step process. So let's remind ourselves a little bit about how to find percentages in part. So remember that there is this percentage rule, and I really, really recommend that you commit this to memory. As part of your kind of study tips, I would suggest that you just grab a piece of paper and you make a little cheat sheet of formulas that are useful and that come up a lot. So there's a ton of percentage questions, as I'm sure you've already seen. Just put that formula in your cheat sheet. Every time you see a percentage question, use it until you memorize it. Okay, so this is the percentage rule. It tells you that the base or the total amount multiplied by the rate or the percentage is going to give you the part. So in this case, we know we have the total amount, right, which is 750, and we have the rate or the percentage, which is 20%. So we want to find out the part, which is the discount that she got. So you just plug your numbers like that, okay, 20% in decimal form, as you can see, and that is 150, okay? So she got 150 discount on the first, when she went, when she paid for the phone. So at this point, we have that, we're going to subtract that discount from the original amount. That gives us 600. So now we're at 600. Now we move to step 2. Okay, now we have to find the discount on those $600. Okay, so we have to find out that 7% discount that they offered her on those $600. So same sort of thing, you would plug in your numbers here. This 0.07 is the 7% in decimal form. And again, you would find the part or the discount, which is $42, subtracted from those $600, and that gives you $558. Okay, which is answer A. So again, take it step by step. Remember, this is a two-step problem, not one step. All right, so this question involves a scientific notation. So it's telling you a shipment of goods weighs 7 tons, and it asks you which of the following expressions can be used to represent the weight in metric tons. And here it's telling you that 1 ton is equal to 2,000 pounds in US measures. And then if you look at the metric system, that is 0.9 metric tons. And essentially, if you look at the answers, it's telling you 7, right? Because we're looking at 7 tons. And it's giving you this amount with scientific notation. So you can see that you have this 10 multiplied to a different exponent, raised to a different exponent. All right, so when you're dealing with questions that involve scientific notation, the first thing that you have to do is you have to look at the exponent. And the reason that you look at this is because sometimes the exponent is going to be a positive number, sometimes it's going to be a negative number, and that's the clue. If it's a positive number, it's telling you that you have to move this decimal point to the right. Okay, so if we rewrote this number, just the 3.7, and I put a few zeros behind it, right, it's telling me I have to move this decimal point 3 spots to the right. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, which comes up to 3,700, and that is the same as saying 3.7 times 10 to the third power. Okay, so what happens if you get a negative exponent? Well, same thing, but in the opposite direction. So if you get a negative exponent, you have to move this decimal point to the left. Okay, so we're going to rewrite this 3.7, and I'm going to put a ton of zeros in front, and what we're going to do is we're going to move that decimal point in that direction. Okay, so there it is, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that amount, 0.0037, is also equal to that exponent. Okay, so that's all you have to know about scientific notation. Not hard, but you just have to be really careful with the decimal points. Make sure that you move them in the correct direction. Again, if it's positive, move to the right. Negative, move to the left. So if we go through every option in turn, you can see here that they're giving us a negative exponent, right? That's telling us that we're going to move to the left. This decimal point is going to move to the left twice, so we'd go 1, 2. And this one is incorrect, right? Because I think I messed up here. 1, 2. Oh no, I got it correct. Okay, so you would move this decimal point to the left twice, so 1, 2. That would be your answer. Okay. B, decimal point moves to the right. Okay, so you would move this decimal point in this direction. That would be the answer, which is also incorrect. Okay, because what you want to end up with is this equivalent. Here we have a negative exponent, move to the left. There you go. Positive exponent. Okay, so the correct answer would be this one, C. Because you're moving the decimal point 1 to the left. Okay, you want to end up with this number, 0.9. Okay, negative exponent, take that decimal, move it 1 to the left, and you get 0.9, which is the goal. Which of the following is the solution for the following equation? 4x plus x minus 20 is equal to 0. Okay, so this is kind of your standard algebra equation. So the first thing you want to do is that you want to add up like terms. So you would add your 4x plus your 5x. And then you want to move this 20 to this side. Okay, you want to move it to the right. So the way that you do that is that you're going to add a positive 20 on both sides. So you end up with 5x is equal to 20. How do you isolate that x? You divide by 5. Okay, so your answer is x is equal to 4. Option C. Which is the value of x in the equation below? Okay, so it gives you this equation. It's not necessarily very hard, but it's kind of one of these messy ones. So what you have to do first is multiply this minus 5 multiplied by x, and then minus 5 multiplied by 2. All right, so let's do that right now. So we would end up with that expression, minus 5x minus 10 minus 23. Then we're going to go ahead and solve this part in the middle. So minus 10 minus 23 is minus 33. And now what we want to do is we want to isolate, we want to move this x to the right side so that we can solve for x. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to add 5x to the left side, 5x to the right side. And we end up with this. And now all you have to do, divide both sides by 11. That gives you x is minus 3. Option A. All right, so question 11 is one of these other types of questions that you usually get in the GED, which is a drag and drop question. So what you'll see is that they'll give you these options here in the bottom of little boxes with numbers, and the idea is that you pick up and you put them into your equation. Okay, so I've kind of done it like this. So let's say you want to pick up that x value. You would drag it and you would drop it in the correct box and just form your equation like that. If you make a mistake, all you have to do is click it and basically remove it. Okay, so this is what drag and drop questions look like. All right, so it tells us Julie is making belts for a men's clothesline. She creates an equation that relates her data of men's abdomen belly size to the length of the band she needs for the belt. For male adults, she needs a band 6 times as long as the man's belly size plus 2/5 of an inch. And then the question asks you to complete a linear equation where x is the size of the abdomen belly and y is the length of the belt and band in inches. Okay, so we know that if you're a male, regardless of how big your belly is or how little it is, it's always going to be 6 times your belly size. And we don't know your belly size, right? You might be, I don't know, I have no idea. It might be 100 inches, whatever, or 200 inches, right? So that is going to be x, okay? And notice here in the question, they're actually giving you the answer. It says x is the size of the abdomen belly, okay? So 6x is the first part. And then in the question, it tells you plus 2/5 of an extra inch, okay? So it would just be plus 2/5. And then what you would go ahead and do is plug those numbers in. Notice that in the answer options, they don't give you 2/5. They're giving you decimal numbers. Okay, so if you divide 2 divided by, if you do this division, it actually gives you is 0.4. Okay, so don't be thrown back by this. Okay, folks, so I just wanted to pause real quick here, more or less, to ask you, how do you feel about us having all of these different styles of questions in these quizzes? So let me know in the comments below if you like to see these 5 different types of problems, or if we should just stick to multiple choice. So if you have time to leave a comment, I really appreciate it. That way I get a sense of what people want. Question 12. Maria earned $10 more than Joe. Rob earned $5 less than Joe. Altogether, they have $320. How much money did Rob earn? All right, so as always, so that you don't get confused, set up your equation. So we have Maria, Joe, and Rob. And we know that together they have that amount of money, right? $320. So that's going to be your equation. And now we need to get, our numbers together. So we don't know anything about Joe, right? We know that Maria earned more than Joe and that Rob earned less than Joe. So since we don't know how much Joe earned, we're just going to say that he earned X. And we know that Maria earned $10 more than Joe, so it would be x plus 10. And then Rob earned $5 less than Joe. So that would be x minus 5. All right, so now you have all your variables together. What you have to do is just simply plug them into your equation, okay? So again, first thing that you want to do is you want to get like terms together, right? So you would get these 3 x's here. So you end up with 3x there. And then you want to subtract, deal with this 10 and this 5, okay, which gives you positive 5. And in order to isolate this x, then what we do is we want to subtract, get rid of that 5. So we would subtract from both sides, and you end up with 3x is equal to 315. Now, in order to isolate that x, all you have to do is divide both sides by 3, and that would give you $105. Careful, there's another step. The question doesn't ask you what x is. It asks you how much money Rob earned. So what we just found out, x is actually what Joe earned, okay? And the question asks how much Rob earned. So what you have to do is take that x value and plug it into the equation for Rob, which was x minus 5. Okay, and that tells you that Rob earned $100. Okay, so be careful with that. Sometimes, you can get distracted and miss this last part of the problem and miss out. Solve the following expression. Okay, so again, what you want to do here is start by combining like terms. So you would solve these two first. So 12x minus 4x is going to give you 8x plus 10, which is going to equal 50. Then we want to isolate this 8x, so we would subtract 10 from the left, and we have to do the same thing on the right, and we end up with 8x is equal to 40. And now to solve for that x value, we would divide by 8 on both sides. And that gives you x is equal to 5. Option A. All right, so question 14 is one of these questions that is known as a hot spot question. Okay, so they'll give you a question, and then they might give you maybe a graph where you have to plot a point, or a number line where you have to click on it or whatever. And this question actually has 2 steps because they're testing on one side your ability to solve an inequality that they've thrown in there, and 2, they're testing your comfort, your level of comfort with dealing with number lines. Okay, so this is a really good question, I guess, for examiners, because they get the best bang for their buck in a way. All right, so it says Rob spends 20 hours a week fixing cars. He spends 2 hours buying material. Each car takes about 6 hours to complete. The inequality 2 plus 6c is less than 20 represents the cars Rob can fix in a week. And then it says, using the number line, click each number to plot the possible value of c. All right, so like all of these questions in the GED, you have to pull it apart and take it step by step. So step 1 is that you want to solve this inequality that they're giving you in the question. Okay, how do you do this? Like a normal algebra problem. Okay, so you want to isolate this 6c by getting rid of this 2. How do you do that? By subtracting 2 from both sides. So from the left side, so that is going to cancel out, right? And then from the right side. So you end up with 6c less than 18. And now, how do you get rid of that 6? Well, you would have to divide by 6, right? So you divide both sides by 6, and that gives you c less than 3. Okay, so that was step 1. So step 2 is it's telling you in the question, using the number line below, click each number to plot the possible value of c. All right, so it's telling you here c minus 3. Okay, so it's going to be anything below 3. All right, so it can be 2, it can be 1, or it can be 0. All right, so this is kind of what is expected of these sort of questions. Question 15 is another drop-down menu question. And what this is testing is your ability to extract information from a table. Excuse me. So it says, Luke runs a barber shop. The table below shows the number of men that came in for a shave on Monday. Okay, so you can see here that at 8 a.m. there was 2 guys. At 9 there was 4. At noon there was 8, etc. And then it gives you these 2 drop-down menus. And it asks you, the number of men who got a shave ranged from that amount, okay, and it's giving you numbers 0 to 10 to that amount, okay, and it's giving you numbers 0 to 10. And this is to trick you, by the way, right, because we only have, the maximum number is 8, it's not 10. So you have to pay attention. Okay, so how do you find the range? Well, obviously you look at the lowest value. Okay, so go through all the numbers and you can see that the lowest number of men in the shop was 2 and the highest number of people was 8. Okay, so that's your range, 2 to 8. So you would go down back to your question, hit that drop down menu, and the range we said is 2. And then on this side, we said that the highest number was 8. Okay, so at noon, there was 8 people. All right, folks, so that is all that I've got for you today. Please let me know in the comment section if you like having these types of questions where you have drag and drop, drop menu, fill in the blank, hotspot, and multiple choice. I'm just kind of trying it out based on comments that I got from some of you last week. If you are interested, then I can start to throw in some questions like this every week. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to stick to our usual multiple choice questions. Okay, so if you have a time to drop me a comment, really appreciate that. Thanks very much for watching, and again, if you found this helpful, please subscribe and sign up for notifications so that you know when new videos come up. I'm aiming to post every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, so every week, and please share this with colleagues or friends that you think might find it useful. Once again, thank you so much for watching, thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your day.